start, can you tell me a bit about yourself? Because yeah, I don't really know too much about like your background or like how your family, arrived on the island or yeah, your like lineage to St. Martin, all that good stuff.
Okay. All right, let me formulate if we're going that far back. So my dad's from Aruba. My mom's from St. Thomas. She was born in St. Thomas, but as a kid she traveled around a lot, foster homes and stuff like that, because her mom wasn't stable enough. But eventually, they all planted their feet down in St. Martin, and then um, I guess I can c- shorten it on how I got my name. So my dad, 9 years before I was born, had a dream. And in that dream, me and him sat and had a brief conversation. And in that conversation,
Wow.
my name, my date of birth, um, like, and time came to him. And then clearly gender
Wow.
if he was talking to another man. And he woke up, he wrote it on a paper, laminated it, and kind of stashed it away. 4 years later, he sees this beautiful woman on a balcony, and he's like, okay, I gotta meet her. So he goes up, figures out what room it is. He does the math. He goes, knocks on the door. My grandmother answers, and she's like, hello, how can I help you? He starts to tell I saw this woman on the balcony. I figured out it was this room, and she closes the door in his face. Boom. And he's like, what the hell? So a week goes by. He's like, let me try again. Maybe she might answer, not the old lady. Boom, knocks on the door. Old lady comes again. So he's like, man, like, she's like, you know what? If you're gonna be persistent, you're gonna see for yourself. So from the angle my dad was
Yeah.
looking, he couldn't see that my mom was 5 months pregnant, and my dad
Wow.
was like, if you're willing to go out for dinner with me, like, let's go. By the time my one of my aunts and her 4 kids was staying there, so she was like, yeah, we're watching the kids. She like, bring everybody. We're going to go get ice cream. And basically, my parents were together for 30 years since that moment. My dad raised my
Wow.
sister from that moment on. And then 5 years later, um, my mom got pregnant. I can't remember if they were married before or after they got married because I was on the way, but somewhere in between they got married. And my dad went back, checked his paper, and he was like, "Oh, this is a bit too coincidental." So he goes and have this
Yeah.
conversation with my mom, like, "Look, this is the paper." He tells her about the dream. So they decide, okay, we're gonna make a bet. If it's a girl, you have all rights to name her whatever you want. If it's a boy,
Yeah.
based on for whatever reason, like it's already chosen. It's
Yeah.
not even my choice. Like this is what he chose. So boom, 9 months later, I was born on the day around the same time, but I was born in the morning and not the night.
Mm.
So that's
That's still
how,
pretty close though.
yeah,
That's like still like hella like coincidental. Just like wow.
yeah. So my full name is Star Savior Peterson. So and I grew up in Simpson Bay, so I grew up right next to the beach. So like the water was always part of my lifestyle. and
Yeah.
and then just growing up, my uncle, he builds like drag race cars back then for a living. So I grew up around motorsports, the ocean, and then like I used to be obsessed with Rocket Power, the cartoon. So there was a
Mm.
lot of very subconscious mental training happening in my younger times. And then as I started to grow up, and then I picked up skateboarding. I was a great student. I just never had the best grades because my priorities were never there when I came home to study. And then once I picked up skateboarding, I got really good at it. And a few years in, there was a skate shop that opened up on the island across from Soggy Dollar called Rebel 7.
Mm.
And they pretty much started sponsoring me. So I was getting boards
Awesome.
and clothes and whatever I needed to like progress. And I was breaking boards like once a month, like doing like the big stairs in the back of the pharmacy by Maho Clinic and stuff like that. Like I was going
Yeah.
full on. We would go to Orlando for the expos. I'd be like holding my own with the
Wow.
pros and stuff like that. So that's where this unwavering confidence started to develop, where it's like, okay, like maybe if I really do dedicate myself, I can really get to, higher levels of competitiveness. And then it got to a point where the risk to reward wasn't really enough for me. So I was
Yeah.
like when I started to really like, okay, if I want to go pro, like what are the other guys coming up and they're like doing ridiculous stuff, and I'm like, okay,
Mm.
I don't know if I'm willing to like really put my body on the line. And
Yeah.
then fortunately, I that's when I transitioned to yachting. So I ended up working on
Interesting.
super yacht. I still work on them, but like full on like 100% for about 4 years. But that's another crazy story. So after I did when I signed up to do my course, I got like automatically entered into a raffle to work on a tall ship, which is like a Pirates of the Caribbean style boat, basically.
Mm. Okay, okay.
And I got chosen. So I jumped on that boat. I went to the British Virgin Islands, and that night was interesting also because the chef was a German guy, and he made the best homemade pizza I ever ate in my entire life. So me being a fat kid at heart, I ate way too much pizza. And then, but we were supposed to leave the next day. So I was like, I got time to digest, get comfortable. And then boom, the captain walks in. He's like, guys, I sorry, but tonight is a meteor shower. We're leaving in 2 hours. So my first like official day at sea or night at sea, I'm either spewing over the side, I'm laying on my back trying to like, settle my stomach, and I'm just watching shooting stars for hours. Like every 5 seconds. It
Wow.
was it was a memorable night to say the least.
Yeah, I bet. I guess what got you interested or like exposed to the yachting industry, because like as much as in St. Martin we have the massive lagoon and we see all of these mega yachts all the time, like, at least for in my experience, the folks that were pretty much into yachting were, like, doing boating ever since we were, like, kids, but we were never really, like,
Exposed.
told about the marine
Yeah.
industry as though it was something that you could actually build a career out of. At least in my experience, like, the only person that was, like, dead set in being in that industry was Charlie. I don't know if you know Charlie, but he was just like, "Yep, this is my path. I know exactly what I wanna do in it."
Yeah, I know
And he was the
Charlie.
only person that I know of that was like, "Yeah, this is what I wanna do," but
Mhm.
nobody else was, like, ever told about what the options were to go into this industry. So, like, yeah, what got you even
So
thinking about yachting and then in it?
while I was so I dropped out of St. Dominic when I was 15, 16. So I ended up working full time at the surf shop since I had all this free time on my hands. And one of my mentors was the tattoo artist in the shop,
Mm,
A guy from New Zealand, and he basically like through his art. So like he's a carver. So initially like
sweet.
wood and stuff like that, but when he through his travels he discovered mammoth tusk, so ivory. So now he's a
Interesting.
master
Yeah.
ivory carver, and just spending a lot of time with him and learning his philosophies, his life journey. And one day he's like, "Oh, one of my good friends is like a first officer, so just below the captain on a yacht that's here." And he's like, it would be something cool for you to go and experience and try for yourself. So I'm like, why not? Let's give it a go.
Mm,
So they basically like hired me for a week, and the day I started, they started scrubbing the deck. So I reached there, they're like, boom, here's your boots, here's your brush. Like don't get this stuff on your skin, like don't, scrub the deck a certain way. So boom, we're
okay.
scrubbing, and like I've grown up helping my dad like build our family house to help him mix in cement. So I know
Awesome.
I have an idea of what hard work should
Mm,
feel like. And I'm scrubbing and
yeah.
scrubbing. I'm like, man, this really isn't that hard. So like, oh, what's your plans for lunch? And this is the defining moment where I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, for the rest of my life, kind of thing. She's like, oh, I don't know. They're like, oh, just come have lunch with us and everything, we go back straight away. So I'm like, cool. So like this is my first time being on like I think that boat is maybe estimated around like 35 million or something. It was a pretty big boat called Polar
Wow.
Star.
I wish.
So I'm walking
Yeah.
through and I'm just like, holy shit. Like this is real, like this stuff really
Yeah.
exists. So I'm going down and getting lost in the boat and I get to the crew mess where everybody eats and and the way like yacht chefs cook, they just cook a big portion and everybody plates for themselves. So like a buffet style.
Mm.
And we walk in and there's like lamb chops, two different salads, like two different like starches. There's this fresh banana bread, and I'm just like, is either a holiday, somebody's birthday,
Right?
like this
Yeah.
has to be a special occasion, and they're just like, no,
Yeah,
like we
exactly.
eat like this, and I'm
This
like,
is dinner. Like That's
okay,
funny.
and I'm like, okay, so how much, like, what's the average salary to expect? And I was like, no way, you guys eat this good, and like a average starting salary is like maybe like 2,500 in on working on a yacht, at least
Per
like
month?
a motor yacht, yeah. So
Okay,
like you
awesome.
make like serious money, and then some like good food. The work's not that serious, and you get paid stupid money. I'm like sold. Like where can I sign up? What do I gotta do? And then like I made it my life's mission after that. So after that tall ship experience, I did my course, which made me like eligible to work on the boat. And then it took me 3 years to get my first job on a boat. So, but in the 3 years, I did a bunch of small, like charters here, like tourist trips here, and then I ended up working
Mm.
as lead on one of the marinas at Puerto Plazon. And that 3 year wait changed in 3 days. So I got a phone call on a Wednesday, like, hey, we in this situation, we need an extra person. Can you come by for us to do an interview with you? So I reached to the boat and the first officer, like, let me have a little talk with you before we go talk to the captain. So he basically asked me everything the captain was about to ask me. And he was like, okay,
Mm.
I like you. So when he asks you this question, you say this, you don't say this, you make sure, like, specify these certain stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, cool, you ready? So I went up, aced my interview. They're like, we're going to call you tonight. Tonight.
Awesome.
They didn't call me.
Oh,
so now
wow.
So now I'm like panicking, because like, and this was at the end of the season. So our main
Mm.
season is pretty much December time till about April. So just after hurricane season and
Interesting.
just before. Because most boats, they can't, the insurance companies don't insure them if they stay in St. Martin. Like if you can leave, leave. Like don't
Interesting.
stick around and like put the asset at risk pretty much.
Yeah.
So we're in like March. And I'm like, man, like almost no boats here, like another year. And I'm like, and I've already like slowly like dipped into like little depressions because I'm like, I've overcommitted myself to like being on boats now. Like I've told the whole world, like everybody that knows me knows one day I'm gonna travel the world on a boat. So I can't just be like, okay, I'm gonna get the office job. Like I've already mentally
Yeah.
departed from that being any kind of reality for me. So
Oh.
they called me the next day and they're like, "Oh, congratulations, you got the job. We leave tomorrow." So Wednesday I got the interview. Thursday they confirmed I got the job. Friday morning, 8 o'clock, we left straight to Europe. So like,
Wow.
so I ended up working on that boat for 2.5 years, which is very long in the industry. Usually people stay a year, 6 months. So 2.5 was like, like okay, wow, like you're able to work with people and that kind of stuff. And then I left once they sold the boat, and the new owners was a little iffy. So I figured, this is a good time to depart and try other boats in the industry and stuff like that. I ended up working for Jerry Seinfeld for a few months,
That's awesome.
and
I love his
then
comedy.
I did he's super cool. Like his family's cool. I beat his kids at Call of Duty every time they came down. No mercy. No mercy. And then I did a
That's
few
funny.
deliveries here and there, like going up to Canada, going up to Newport, down to Mexico. And then after Irma happened, I was in New York, and then I got on a boat in Miami. And then once I was able to move back home, and the whole time, like, I'm not a big message everybody and have big conversation. So throughout that process of me not being home and working on the boat, I made small videos. So like instead
Mm,
of messaging everybody, I just make a video and who watches it know like I'm good and this is where I am.
yeah.
So that was me being lazy and finding the most efficient way to communicate
Give them
with
proof of
all my
life.
family. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's one video, my sister, my nephew was about 1 years old. So she would show him my videos, and there was this one video where he was just upset. He'd be like, "No, Uncle Star, video."
Aw.
So he like watched it on repeat. He probably like watched it like 100 times. So that was like, okay, he really likes the video. Let me try make a new one. So boom, I make a plan. I go out, I execute, I edit it. I'm like, boom, show him this one. I think he's gonna like it. Did
Yeah.
watched it once. He maybe even like stopped watching it. He wanted to watch the other one. So that was the first like challenge for me as a storyteller and videographer, just trying to impress him. So yeah, so trying to impress him is when I really started to develop my videography skills and understanding stories and timelines and just trying to implement as much, that pursuit of knowledge started to begin. And then what was just for my family started to really get traction with other people.
Mm.
And then I started to be like, okay, this is cool, this is entertaining. And I'm a person I like to stay busy. So like when I wasn't working, I was filming. I'm not a big party person and stuff like that. And I love to go on adventures and bringing my camera and trying to tell the story added another level of difficulty and challenge to all the activities I do. Like if I'm surfing, how can I tell this story? Opposed to just going surfing and leaving. Like when I go mountain biking, like how can I capture the trail and really set the line and bring people along with me and just going into that rabbit hole was really really cool.
Well, I must say I am a huge fan of the YouTube channel. I love it. Like even especially when I'm homesick, I will watch it because it's so beautiful. Like the way that you capture the island just makes me so happy because like us, like, I feel like it's crazy that, like, we have never, like, had a chance to tell the story of our island, through the lens of, like, our people, and, like, it's interesting because when you go on YouTube and you look up, like, St. Martin or, like, St. Martin Adventures, it's usually, like, foreigners that come
Absolutely.
to the island, and they tell their story about our island, but it's never, like, from our perspective, and it's like, we know our island best, like, we're the ones that are actually there crawling through every nook and cranny, of our island. And it's like to see like how you have captured all of like at least like highlighting the spots that maybe don't get as much attention or like it's away from just, your regular go to Mullet, go to Maho
Yeah.
spiel or go to like the main attractions it's so beautiful and I like literally my boyfriend will be like, oh, you're watching another one of those and I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm homesick like like I need to and it's so, like it's really good, like, I even remember I was, I'm one of the writers for the new, I guess, tourism page that they're making for St. Martin, and I was like, "Well, since I'm gonna write, like, let me also include awesome people so, like, our tourists can actually instead of just thinking, 'Oh, I'll go to the tourism website and see what they have,' I wanted to be like, okay, if you're looking for adventure and you really wanna know, like, what the locals do, go watch Star's YouTube channel, like if
Mhm.
you're looking for the best wedding photographers, go hire Lily Peterson or Alexandra Shady. And it was really upsetting to me because when I wrote it like that, they removed all of that. They were like, we don't want none of that in
Yeah.
there. And I was like, to me, that is what makes us different. Like it's our people, it's our unique voice and how we have fun on our island. Like that
Yeah.
is what the tourists want. They don't just want, a what Yeah, they don't just want like that regular tourist experience. Like they can get that. What they want is something unique. And like to me, what you showed was so unique. Like to me, I'm surprised like the government doesn't give you a stipend and it's like, hey Star, go and make videos for our country on behalf of our country.
Yeah,
We'll be one of the sponsors and you can go out and just continue to film what you do. But that in and of itself will draw people to our country. It makes me sick that they don't think like this. But no, you have fans. I love it. I
I appreciate
absolutely
it.
am a huge fan.
Yeah, from a business perspective, I understand a little bit of what is happening with when it comes to like tourism and stuff like that, and it's if it's not broken, don't fix it mentality. And
Yeah.
they're very much in a mindset of people are still coming. You know, like the cruise ships are here. You know, the hotels are here. Like this business model has worked. You know, let's not
Yeah.
go and interject too much into it. And they don't have the infrastructure to capitalize on our nature. So me promoting like going hiking, like there's no like there's one guide, and that's the thing for me. Like I've always had this philosophy, like I'm not the person to change the world. I'm the person to influence that person. So
Mm.
like part of the reasons why like I haven't started my own tour guide company and stuff like that is because I want everyone to eat. Like if I keep everything for myself, it's not going to benefit me. But if we start
Mm.
to capitalize on nature in a way that develops an industry, so one of my friends, Jonathan, he started
Yeah.
Johnny Guy tours, and you know, so
Mhm.
like I'm super happy that somebody took something that everyone's like, oh, you got to do this and do that, but for me, it's like I'm always on the next thing. I'm the visionary. So I'm the one that's going to the trails that nobody's been to and seeing if it's viable, you know. But if I'm always going to
Yeah.
the natural pools every time because I'm overbooked, I won't have the time to go and
Exactly.
continue to break walls and break boundaries. So I'm super, and I can do that and still, I say, create a livelihood without having to do everything and try and make as much money as possible. You know, like if he's
That's an
making money
amazing mindset though. That is
and doing,
awesome.
yeah, you know, and it's and he like him building that is works for me because now there's more people in nature, and the more people in nature is the more people that are gonna look for my content.
Yeah. And then that's awesome. Like I'm always excited for the next video. I remember I binged them all and I was just sitting there like, Star, when are you gonna make
Yeah,
another
so
one? Like
so
I'm
I'm
just
busy editing one right now, and the last couple of videos have been all motorbike related content. But I'm busy doing like a super like big investment, and then like I started a new job at the Nature Foundation and stuff like that, which I was hoping would have been a little bit different, but I'm in a crossroads now where I don't have as much time to go out and film and stuff like that. So
mm,
I don't know if I and like I'm really torn because there'll always be another job. You'll never always have an opportunity to double down on your dream. And I feel like I'm in this very unique space where like I can go all in, you know, and I'm like I
yeah.
think I gotta go all in. So I'm gonna make sure do the best I can at like, you know, and make the difference I wanted to make at the Nature Foundation. But ultimately I think just doubling down on the YouTube channel and like doing that kind of work is gonna give me the most uh, uh, fulfillment out of life,
I
you know?
feel that. I feel that. And I mean, I definitely like living in Washington and seeing like the lengths of like the national parks in like Washington are absolutely stunning. Like to go out into nature here is probably one of my favorite things to do because it's so relaxing and it does I feel like as people there's something that is just deep in our spirit. I feel that loves that stuff, and I feel like we don't get enough of it. And I don't know if it's because I'm also an island baby, and I love to be around nature. I love to be around just with Mother Earth, and because she's so beautiful and she gives us so much. And to me, like for us to destroy it and to see our government not protect it, just irks my soul. But I'm honestly, I was so when I saw that you joined Nature Foundation, I was like, "Oh yeah, that makes total sense." Like, of course. That seems
Yeah.
like a partnership, born to be made. But what do you do with the Nature Foundation, and what exactly is the Nature Foundation for people that maybe don't even know what the org is about?
So the Nature Foundation is basically our like governing body for conservation. So there's people in our department that do how you say like consultation. So when there's like big developers coming in, like we have to go and do an environmental impact report. We advise the government on certain changes or implementations so that they don't have major negative effects. But again, it's a give and take. So like we can't stop it all. So we try and
Mm,
just help to guide them the best. My responsibilities. So I'm the park ranger on the island. So I'm
lit.
responsible for endangered species, so like pelicans and stuff. If there's injured birds around the island, like I'll go and get them. We try and rehabilitate them or in that kind of stuff. I patrol all the dive areas, make sure the moorings are good. We don't have like people using the dive sites without proper registration and education and stuff like that, so they're not harming the little bit of nature that we can legally protect, because most of it is just we hope people do the right thing, and we know as people we tend to not do the right thing majority of the time. And then just little projects here and there with helping researchers. So we get a few people that use our um foundation as a hub. So just recently we had an American bone fisheries use our warehouse and resources to do some bonefish research on the island, which is pretty groundbreaking because they didn't even know that we had um, that particular species of fish here. So it's just cool to be a part of it. Because before I joined, I was like, guys, like if you have anything, just anything, even if I gotta like just clean the warehouse, like call me. I want to be involved. And then once I got the
Yeah.
job, I was like, man, at least like I don't have like they don't have to invite me anymore. Like I just like by default gonna be part of all the cool stuff. But like I said earlier, I lost all capacity to reside in that 9 to 5 like office type of situation, and I'm finding the friction taking place now, and it's a bit unfortunate. But I just think we need to find a better way to work together. I think I've made my best impression, and if I do step away, I'll still always be available for them. But I think philanthropy and just being, because there's a lot of politics and red tape involved when you're a foundation and you're dealing with governments,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's holding them back. So now with the information I've acquired, I can really go out and start like using my videos and doing the work that they maybe are a bit afraid of, to like
Mm.
rub people the wrong
Rub them the
way.
wrong way, I feel you. Yeah.
So, and like I have a like next year I'm gearing up to like the same way like I really showed St. Martin on a different scale and a different side. Like I'm about to repeat that process on a whole nother level all over again.
Awesome, awesome,
So
awesome. I guess, like, 'cause I feel like it's very unique to hear someone say, like, "That 9 to 5 is not for me," like, "I tried it, it's killing my spirit, I don't know what to do." I
yeah,
guess, like, what was it for you that I think it's important to talk about this because I personally agree, I don't like the whole 9 to 5, I don't like traditional jobs. To me, it's like I would love for us to move into a society where we were not employees anymore and like, each individual had, like, their personal contributions to an organization, but it wasn't through this lens of, like, "You're my employee." It's like,
yeah.
you're an
I
individual
I own
person,
I
like,
own you
you're
from
st
9 to 5. Like you belong to us,
exactly, exactly.
and just
Exactly,
just
and
that
it's a
dialogue
weird,
alone.
like Yeah, and I think for me, it makes me hella sus because I just feel like the society that we're in is more of one where we've become like slaves to consumerism, and the way that we funnel that system is we need to create employees, and so that's what we have like mass education systems that pretty much brainwash children from the day they're born to be someone's employee, and I'm just like, why though? Like, wouldn't it be better if we were all just individuals that contributed to society and then, we weren't like your
Yeah, you just
employee. Like you were
outsource
just
everything, like we
exactly,
don't hire
exactly,
people. You're like, okay, you need a front desk person, like you just make your own BV and you can do administration
exactly,
and you outsource this person's
exactly,
work instead of like, okay, you gotta,
exactly. You know exactly what I mean.
yeah.
So I guess like what was it for you that got you realizing like, okay, maybe this path isn't for me, and then also feeling empowered to deviate from that? Because I feel like it's hard when society is like, especially at our age, where people are flashing their Richard Milles and Ferraris, or like living the lavish life on the gram or what have you, to know like for yourself that you don't want to follow like a very conventional path. You really want to follow that drive within you, and
Hmm.
feeling, yeah, having the freedom to actually go and explore that.
Well, firstly, I definitely have a nice support system of open-minded people. So there's a healthy balance of you need security, but you can entertain certain risks in what you want to pursue. And then it was a really slow, long, drawn out process. So I started like really pushing my YouTube channel, like, okay, I want to see if I can make this a business. I really sat down, I kind of wrote it out and see, what are the angles, what is my niche, what am I gonna be selling? Where am I gonna be consistent so I can build my channel on this foundation? So
Mm.
it was really sitting down and taking the process and saying, okay, this is the goals and stuff like that. And then for me, it was because again, we're getting older, we have responsibilities and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I got to really kind of have a proof of concept before I can really go all in. I can't just say like, okay, I'm going to be a YouTuber. So I slowly started to, make my videos. I worked on being consistent. And then I started to approach certain businesses. And then once I found one or two businesses that were like, I love the message, I love the story, it's in line with what we're trying to do, like, let's go for it. And then once I did that, and then I started selling like commercial slots in my videos and stuff like that. And then once I really started to make money, then I could have been like, okay, like YouTube not even paying me yet, and I can make a small
Yeah.
return on the time I'm investing. And
Yeah.
that was enough for me to like, get the people around me to be like, okay, like, this might actually. But I've always been a crazy guy in the family. I've always like, going out on the yachts and stuff. Like this is all uncharted territory. There was no one I can go back to and be like, like having this issue on the boat. Like it was all on me. But I'm very like a very open-minded parents, so they're always like, okay, you take this approach, that approach, because, and that's the thing, there's a lot of things in life. Those skills are transferable across the board. So
Mm.
that storytelling and stuff like those are skills that transition into business, because when you're trying to pitch something, you're just telling a story and how to define the return on investment for you and for myself, and just justify, what this is all valued at. And I always been super lucky and fortunate to end up in situations that have been accommodating to those. So like I've been able to build the videos and stuff like that, and build a dream. And then on YouTube, and I always study the people around me, because on the boats, like I wanted to be a captain. And then like as I was in the process, I looked at all the captains and I'm like, you guys still working on the boat and you're like in your 50s, and it's like, okay, I'm not really trying to be working that hard.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
I
then,
had to realize that myself too. It's like
yeah, you're not doing what I trying to do, but I on the
Exactly.
path to becoming you, and I don't like how that looks. So I'm gonna adjust a little bit.
Exactly. Oh, bro, when I had that realization for myself, I was like, "Oh crap, you've been asking the wrong people for advice." I'm like, "You don't even want their life. Why do you
Yeah,
care?" Like,
100%.
preach.
So then I switched to engineering because I from growing up around my uncle building cars and working on my motorcycles, that knowledge was transferable.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so and then once so I started going the engineering route because also if you don't want to work on boats, you come back to land. Like there's no land captains, but there's always engineers.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then when I moved back, I started doing like marine electrician and stuff like that, working on boats still. But then I started to get into those areas where all the mechanics and stuff around the island have been working, and I started to look around, and I'm like, you guys old, and you still have to get up early and squeeze into holes and stuff like that. And I'm like, this ain't it. This is not
Yeah, I
it.
feel
And then
You're
and
like, I'm
then
trying to be chilling at that
yeah,
point, like,
and like for the same amount of work that they put in, like every 6 months there's another YouTuber becoming a millionaire.
bro. Mhm.
So I'm
Precisely.
like the only logical decision because I already have proof of concept. I already have a
Yeah,
following. I already made a positive
exactly.
impact on people because that's one of the things too. Like I don't understand how certain people can make content consistently and give absolutely no value.
Mm,
So like my content is very saturated in value. You either get entertainment value, educational value, and at the end of every video, I do my little inspiration and stuff like that. So there's something like even if you watch one video, like somebody's gonna walk away with something tangible from
yeah.
spending 15 minutes of their life they're never gonna get back. So I make
Yeah, that's
sure,
I think that's a great way to look at it. Cause for you, you're thinking like, "They're giving me their time, I wanna at least give them something as well." That's
exactly.
really nice. Cause most people don't even care. They're like, "Give me,
Yeah,
just take."
I want, I want, I
But I'm
want.
curious, like, where did that your positive mindset come from? Because like, even on Instagram, like, you always share, like, really like, things to change people's perspectives, like, in your videos, you have, like, your inspirations at the end. I guess, like, how did you develop your positive mindset? Especially because you said, like, you battled with certain periods where maybe, it was a little bit, shady, you weren't really sure what was going
Yeah,
on, and you weren't maybe feeling the best, but to still cultivate, like, that positivity and to feel like you radiate that positivity now, like, how did you
I
do
definitely
that?
got a lot of it from my mom. My mom is a very like glass half full kind of person, and
Mhm.
I've had a few like male figures in my life that were fantastic examples of who I don't want to be. So
You gotta start somewhere,
yeah,
yeah.
so like growing up and watching those things and like I'm like okay, and like I'm just like I just like being happy, like
Yeah.
and I am a very like big advocate for you control your environment to the best of your ability. So by me radiating positivity, I set the standard for how people interact with me. So like if you're down
Mm.
and gloomy and you come around me, like you're gonna know I'm gonna pull you up. So and the thing is like even if you fake a little bit of happiness, like some of it might just become real. So
Yeah, no,
like
there's this saying, like, if you smile even when you're sad, it'll make you happy because you
yeah.
trick yourself into feeling happy, it's funny.
But again, we're not talking like proper psychology and proper depression and stuff like this.
Yeah.
But like if you're really depressed, like there's different processes. But just for like average people that are going, and for me it's just and I'm super lucky. I always like I start every day and I end every day with gratitude. And I've been so fortunate to just have the resources and the people around me that I'm like I have absolutely no reason to be sad or upset about anything. Like even my worst days are someone's dream day. So especially like living in St. Martin, like blessed is an understatement. Like
Mhm.
people sell
Yeah,
everything they have to just come and like work on a garbage truck to be here. So like me having the
exactly.
opportunities, and that's why I work so hard because I know I'm blessed. I'm like, okay, this is not a ticket to just relax and embrace. It's my ticket to like I don't have to fight battles most people on the planet have to fight. So I need to take advantage of that head start and really push and do something with it. And that's why like I put as much work. Like I work ridiculous hours, but it pays off, and just having that impact on people and making a difference and just being in a good space is nice.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely agree, and I definitely, as someone that watches your videos, I love that because like, I try to be a super positive person and have gratitude, and I think it when you exemplify that energy, like, you attract that back. It's I feel like it's so good for your spirit and, like, other people around you can feel that, and it's interesting because it's like you then energize other people because you make them see there's, like, an other way to live, there's
Mhm.
another way to go about your life, and that's, powerful.
Yeah.
Um But I also wanted to ask your opinion on bike life on St. Martin because it's so controversial. And on one hand, you have people that are like, they're idiots. What are they doing? They're killing innocent people or like they're dying on the street. Why do they
Yeah.
want to do this? And then you're also like from the advocate of like, but they're just trying to have fun. Like they're just, trying to live life. Like bikes are also saving a lot of people from being in the streets. So I'm curious, like, as someone that rides motorcycles and
Yeah.
races them and is a part of that community, how do you deal with, like, the controversy around bike life on St. Martin and, like, trying to at least create maybe safer avenues for your community so that maybe it doesn't, like, clash as much with society? Or
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, how does
Exactly.
it work when you're in bike life?
It's I think just in general, it like just as a prerequisite for riding motorcycles, you accept a certain level of risk. So,
Mm,
and here in particular, that risk is like exponentially higher because of the driving standards of cars. Like, like if we have to
mm,
look at statistics, like the people driving cars are probably 65% more likely to cause an accident than any of the most reckless riders on the island. And we're talking like if out of 100%, these people are really complaining about maybe 15%, and that's being like modest. So like they're allowing their emotions to explode a situation and not really sitting back and looking at it from a proper numbers perspective and be like, okay, how big is this
mm,
problem really? And it's
mm,
and that's why like with my the racing videos I do, I try to showcase that we are not animals, we are not like brutes, we're not suicidal, like we are just people with talents that, and that's the thing, like you can take a raging river, dig canals, and all of a sudden is a flowing stream. And that's the stage we're on. Like bike life in a certain extent is a raging river, and we're just trying to build dams instead of make that river flow.
mm,
And you're always going to be met with opposing forces, opposed to developing ways to just guide these, like, because that's the thing. These guys are talented. Like for what they are able to do, while managing like the regular risk of riding a motorcycle normally, like like we can breed champions. We can produce like people that can go and change the world. But
mhm,
if your leaders are not open minded, or they only act when pressure is applied, we're always gonna have issues. They're always gonna make the short solution. Like this, they started to like do more controls with police and start taking bikes off the road. But if you look at the pictures and the bikes that are on the trailers, none of those bikes are ridden by the people that doing the stuff that making the problem. So it's like it's
That
nice
is
to look,
so
yeah,
funny.
it's nice to look like you're doing something, but you really just like you're not cleaning the mess.
Wrong bikes.
You're not making an impact. Like some innocent guy that probably didn't even see all the Facebook stuff, like just got pulled over and like, oh,
Yeah.
where's the stuff? And like, oh, your bike gonna get crushed. And he's like, what the hell did I do? Like, yeah, it's you guys that
Yeah.
caused the trouble. And like, you guys, like, I coming from work. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's funny.
meanwhile, the guys that like, actually doing the crazy stuff, just sitting there laughing, like, like it's a small island. Like, there's
Yeah.
videos, you know where these people live. Like, you don't need to
Yeah,
do
exactly.
controls. Like, you could go and like tell the aunt to tell him, come outside.
Yeah,
Like, it's
exactly.
not
Exactly.
we're not in New York or something where you need to do a proper investigation. Like, these people is your neighbors, your
Yeah.
friends, your cousins,
Yeah,
your brothers.
exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
and that's part of my next investment. I had a little conversation with a friend of mine last night about because I personally I'm gonna be buying a dirt bike next month, but I'm gonna be doing more off roading. So like all of those like
Okay.
trails and stuff like that in the back, like I'm gonna be like I said again, like exposing a whole different side of St. Martin. Like I've shown like
Mm.
the regular, the hiking, the snorkeling, the scuba diving, but now I'm gonna show like because like there's places like I've been studying Google Map and looking for like hidden trails and stuff, and I'm like I didn't even know this place exists. Like there's trails like you could see on Google
Wow.
Map that. So and that's the thing. Like in the videos, it's all genuine. Like when you see this place for the first time, is because I haven't seen this place for the first time. Like
Yeah.
and that's why I started like to go back to what you were saying. Like we haven't been able to show our island for ourselves. And when I started, I was like, man, like some medical student or some tourist is gonna come and be like, wow, there's so much potential for content here, and they're gonna just come and do what I'm doing. So before
Mhm.
they come and tell it, because there was this one guy, and like he would walk to Phillipsburg and make it seem like after COVID, like oh, like it's a ghost town and nothing
Yeah,
open, just like
exactly.
create a story that's gonna sell. And I'm just watching it like,
Yeah.
look at this guy just capitalizing and
Yeah,
not
and that
really doing
hurts
any
us.
just
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Mhm.
So so I was like, I kind of take that upon myself to just initiate and show that it's actually a career path and hopefully motivate other people in different industries or even my industry. Because the thing with YouTube is, one is like, okay, you got your niche, but two, people receive people differently. And that's why
Yeah.
like there's 1,000 gaming channels, there's 1,000 like art channels, there's millions of dance channels, because even though we're doing the same thing, the way I communicate and tell my story is going to be received by one group and not really well received by another, and you need that
Mm.
diversity in order to get everyone. So,
Yeah.
and that was
That's
one of
so
the things
true.
that stopped, like, allowed me to follow through, because it's like, like, YouTube is super saturated, like, I'm not doing
I
anything
appreciate you saying
original.
that. Mhm.
And it's really just the way you express yourself is going to impact someone. And that's enough,
Yeah.
and like, there's so much people, and especially when you're making content, like, even if, like, after that person finish watch one video, they're probably going to watch another one and another one and another one. So you just need to be in that line of videos, so you're not like, oh, these fans only watch my videos. Like, they watch everyone's videos. So you just got to be in that process, and like, because attention is a infinite resource. You're never going to run out of attention. You're never going to run out of people willing to spend time to consume your content. So you're basically like, it's infinite. You're tapping into an infinite resource. So there's really like developing a scarcity mindset when you come into this creator zone is such an unhealthy way to begin, because there really is no scarcity. There's no end to adventure. There's no end to creativity. There's no end to how you tell a story. Like, you can always evolve it. You can always revisit it. So like, I think just developing a scarcity mindset from a young age, I really had to grow out of that in order to see the potential that was in front of me.
Yeah. That's actually super beautiful. I really appreciate you saying that because like I've been thinking to do my own YouTube channel, but then I get in my head and I'm like, but yeah, there's so many others like that. Like why would like who would want to watch you? You know what I mean? Especially cuz like the way that my brain works is like I'm super curious about so much stuff that I like for me it's like I don't know if I could have like one topic to like give value on cuz for me it's like I'm so curious like I want to maybe one day try pottery and make a video about that or try another day to make a candle or like one day just go on a hike and for me it's like trying to figure out how do I turn that into something that people would wanna continuously follow or, like, go and be like, "Okay, that was a cute video, let's go watch another one." But
Mhm.
I definitely appreciate you saying that because, like, you're right, like, if you operate with this mindset of, like, already like, you're setting yourself up for failure, you know, because 'cause you're, like, already doubting your own creative voice when it's, like I feel like I had to realize within myself just, like, anything that you do as an individual is automatically gonna have your stamp on it,
Yeah.
just because that's just how you think, like, and nobody else is gonna think the way that you do. As much as you like, in your head, you have, like, that voice of doubt that's like, "Ah," like, it's really like, nobody else even thinks like that. So
Mhm.
it's like that in and of itself makes you unique, and you need to hone in on it, and
Yeah. Like
yeah, that's super
there's
Go
a
ahead.
famous saying that says we always suffer more in imagination than we ever do in reality. You know, and
Preach.
like just the way that like in your mind we create these negative stuff and in reality like none of it exists. Like most people
It's
really don't
true.
care what you're doing. Like you just do you. You know, and to go back to your
Exactly.
like I had the exact same battles. Like I probably my YouTube channel probably started 3 years late because of that mindset of like I couldn't decide if I wanted to do a skateboard channel, a mountain bike channel, a scuba dive channel, a spearfishing channel, a motorcycle channel, or a rock climbing channel. And through watching videos and my mom's current boyfriend, he watches YouTube all the time, and he's a big he's a officer, so he likes like guns and stuff like that. So he was showing me a channel
Mm.
of this guy. And one video he was reviewing bags. The next video he's talking about his van. The next video he's on a one wheel. The next video he's like, oh, check these cool knives out. Like there's really no consistency here. And then I realized the consistency is him.
Mhm.
He is
Preach.
he is
Tell 'em.
yeah, like he is the glue that brings all of that stuff together. So like in your side, like if you want to do pottery and hiking and then go into coding, like you are the common denominator. So as long as you work
Mm.
on you and make sure that you are good and that you come across happy because you are happy, then whatever you're doing doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And
Thank
and
you. I appreciate that.
and
I
when
appreciate
so
that.
when I got that realization, like wow, this guy's super inconsistent, but his channel is blowing up. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can do that too. Like I can just be me doing all of these things, and at the end of the day, I am that singular factor that and that's why I structure my videos the way I do. So when you watch my video, regardless of what activity I'm doing, you automatically know you're gonna get a small introduction. You're gonna go on the adventure. And then I'm gonna close it off like this. So that way, like
Mm.
my videos
I
might be
see.
random and everywhere, but there is structure and some kind of like I know what to expect. Because if
Yeah.
it's really too all over the place, like it's gonna make people uncomfortable. So by giving my videos a specific structure and storyline, regardless of subject, and then it gives people a little bit more of like, okay, I know why I'm subscribing.
That's so interesting that I had no idea, like, you even had this internal conflict because like, I've watched all of them from spearfishing to you, like, camping on, like, the abandoned island
Yeah,
to
yeah.
bike riding to, through the trails to even the motorcycle ones, and for me as, like, the consumer, I'm never, like, doubting you, like, I'm always like, "Of course he knows what he's doing," like, "Of course, these videos make perfect sense." But like when you're on the flip side, like it's funny because yeah, you have no idea what they're actually thinking about even their own content. They're just putting it out there and you develop your own like assumptions just by like again that voice in your head.
Mhm.
How, as like a new YouTuber, have you had like to build your following to get to like the 1,000 subscribers and get people like commenting and sharing your videos? Or did that just happen like organically as you
No,
kept
the,
pumping out content?
no, it's one is so when you create content, you're I I I I have a fish analogy. So my it's not a I hope it doesn't come across degrading or anything like that, but it's like the algorithm is one pond of fish, and then my like actual like subscribers and followers are another pond. And
Mm,
you have one video, and you gotta how you say split the food evenly. So like you gotta stay consistent. So you always have to feed your fish so they stay alive. And then two, you gotta make sure the algorithm is happy. So you're making the right videos. You're doing the SEO and the background stuff and making sure your titles and stuff like that is on point. But then when the people that are actually watching it, like they don't see you as somebody making videos for the hype or because you know this video is gonna work. You know, so it's really
mm,
finding balance between the two, and then just and then the reason my channel blew up is because I realized just from making certain videos, when I invite people with me, they share it more than if they're not in the video.
yeah, I
So
feel.
like with and the motorcycles videos are the ones that really kind of took my channel like from slowly progressing and blew it up because of the way I document it. So for me, it's like
Mm,
today it's about the racing, tomorrow it's about the people that are racing. You know, so
mm,
like when I film, I capture everyone from the crowd, so like you can see yourself in the videos. You know, like I take the
mm,
time to like show the riders pulling up, you know, so everybody feel like they're a star in their own movie. You know, so when the
yeah,
riders go to watch the video, like it feels like it's about me. You know, it's not like
them,
yeah,
yeah,
you know, it's not about the racing, like it's about the people racing. So like if you watch it
yeah,
the first time, you're like, oh wow, those races was really good. And then like you have situations where like I lost my cousin a few months ago, I think like 2 months ago, in a motorcycle accident, and now I
my
have
condolences.
all of this footage of him doing what he loves.
That's
You know, so
awesome.
because of the way I filmed it,
Yeah,
you know, like we can go back and like see his face and see him smiling and see
yeah,
him racing and you know holding up his trophy and stuff like that, and it shows that what I envisioned is actually how it is. You know, because sometimes like
yeah,
theory and reality don't always blend well. So fortunately, in this instance, you know, the way that I captured everything was really, you know, to do justice to the people as much as the sport, and that's why my channel picked up and ran because everyone's like, oh, look at me in the video, you know, like look at us, or
yeah,
look at your cousin, look at your brother, or this for the exact same
yeah,
thing, you know, like we have people that from here that rode here that don't live here anymore. So for them to be like, oh, you know, like checking out the bikes and what the level of the motorcycle scene is, and also for the people that don't race to just see, you know,
like, what
like
is it
get the
about?
insight,
Yeah,
yeah, you know, to get the insight of what the culture is, and you know, and I feel like I've done like they've always been motorcycle videos, but they've never done it in a like they never bridge that doing it for the hype and doing it for the people. And I feel like my videos
yeah,
have a happy medium where it's like, you know, obviously we racing and it's super dramatic and stuff like that. But it's also for the people that are watching it, you know, the loved ones that want to see their loved ones, you know, race and, you know, progress and challenge themselves. Like is a lot of what I do have nothing to do with me. Like like all my videos, like I don't make it really for me. I make it for like people like you that don't live here, that or people that do live here
mm,
but don't get out and explore. Like I make my
mm,
videos for them, you know, because like every video I do is stuff I would do with or without the camera.
Mm.
Like I'm not like, okay, I gotta go shoot a vlog. Like, like, no, like I go
Like
hiking,
you
I
were
might
gonna
as
do
well
this
bring, yeah,
anyways,
I
yeah.
might as well bring my camera with me, kind of thing. And that's,
Yeah.
so it's really, it's natural for me. It's easy for me to put in that work in those hours because I am not overreaching what is naturally something I do on a regular.
Sweet. And like for young St. Martiners that maybe want to get into the YouTubing space, but they don't have like a lot of support or they don't really know like what like tools they might need. I guess like what advice would you have for like young students or just young people on the island that maybe want to get into YouTubing, whether it be for like just things that are really like unique to our culture that really don't get highlighted or don't get shown and they maybe want to open avenues for that. What
Hmm.
as someone that had to pretty much because 'cause you've pretty much funded your whole, channel yourself, and
Yeah,
you have made amazing partnerships with, like,
the
the
scuba
Manly
shop.
family for diving, and
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, I love that I love them, they're so awesome. But I guess, like, for folks that maybe don't know people, they're still young, they're just, maybe in class, and they're thinking about doing this, but they don't really know, like, what they would need to really, like, shoot a good video. I guess what advice would you have for someone that's, like, thinking of starting, wants to start, but really just has no clue because there's little resources on the island?
Um, I would say embrace failure. Like once you become comfortable with failing, the rest doesn't really matter. So
Mm.
if your quality isn't the best, but you're like, man, whatever, I'm just gonna get it going. Like I think a lot of people get caught up on trying to analyze and compete in the beginning. And reality, like the first person you need to beat is yourself. Like you need to beat your mindset, you need to beat your doubt, you need to beat all of these things. And by accepting failure, you allow yourself the room to actually commit. And a lot of people like, oh, what camera I need to buy. Like it doesn't matter what camera you have. It doesn't, like in the beginning, like you just need to overcome getting started. And then once you get started,
Mm.
then you have information that you can say, okay, you go back, you watch a couple of your videos, or while you're editing, you're like, wow, the audio wasn't really good. And then you start from there. You're like, okay, now we gotta invest in
Mm.
a microphone. And then boom, your audio quality is good, and you're watching, you're like, wow, like maybe your editing isn't fast enough, or it's kind of slow, or the way you talk is a little bit off. And then boom, you have a new metric now. So now you're like, okay, how can
Mm.
I speak a little bit better, or how can I structure my video a little bit different? And then now you're on video 10, video 11, and like, okay, the quality isn't the best. And then boom, now okay, let me try and get a camera. But now because you're in the field, you understand a little bit of the mechanics. You can say, okay, like this is the kind of camera I need. Like for me, like a Canon DSLR isn't the camera for me. Like a GoPro is the camera for me. But until I start that process, like even now, like a lot of guys just use iPhones because they're pretty water resistant, so they just use the iPhone everywhere. So
Yeah.
and you can get like really cool cages to add microphones and stuff like that to your iPhone. So it's really just about getting started and then using the knowledge you gain as you go through the process to then answer your own questions.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that because it's like I think a lot of people get hung up on perfection and it stops them from like ever really getting started because they think like, well, I need to have a fancy camera, I need to have a fancy mic, I need to have it so that it's smooth, like it's not
Yeah,
like a jaggedy me holding the camera, or whatever. But it's like and then I thought I love how you said it's like you will find the things you wanna change about your own video and naturally progress. So it's like the first time you do it, you'll realize, "Okay, maybe I didn't like this part of it," and that gives you something to strive for, so then you're on this constant path of growth and improvement, and it's like, I feel like at the end of the day, the people that really rock with you, that get you, that understand what you're about aren't gonna care about that because they see that you're growing, and that in and of itself is something that the audience also gains because they get to see you grow as a person, and I think that that's beautiful to see because we're all growing all the time, and to show, like, your own failures, I think makes it easier or like less scary for other people to fail because then they're like, oh, like it's not that bad. Like you
No.
can make, you can come back from that.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful. I had one other question for you before we wrap up, and it's regarding the skating that you do with Veronica on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
I'm curious like how that began and yeah, like how yeah, what the goal is behind like those skate sessions. I think it's so cute like to see like all the kids that come out to learn to skate with you guys and I
Uh,
know Veronica love is in super into that stuff. So
yeah.
I was super curious to hear like how all that started.
So like now that I'm a little bit older because I'm 27 now, I feel like I'm in a position to do what like the guys at the skate shop and stuff did for me, for others.
Mm.
So like me and her would get together because she was getting into it, and I skate. I've been skating for like maybe like 13 years or something like that now. So we would just hang out and start skating together, and then eventually I was like, like my schedule's pretty busy, so I might as well just say like let's commit to like a certain time once a week we get to skate, and then it just kind of developed into like, oh, more people coming and like, oh, let's expand it and reach out and see, like, because there's always been people skating on the island, they just never get together,
Mm.
so, and
Yeah.
so I think the biggest goal is to, again, like she really has that boiling passion for it. I kind of went through all the phases and disappointments already. So for me, it's just using my resources to help fuel her fire and let her take that off the ground and build something that she can, like build. Because
Mm.
like skateboarding is something like global now that, and there's so much, and that's one of the biggest challenges, especially like for someone that grew up on an island, all too well, is if it's not mainstream, there's really nothing for you to do. So like if you're not super good in school, you're not a basketball player, soccer player, cricket, swimming, like if you're anything outside of that little bubble, like you're kind of screwed. You're not gonna have anybody to like bounce ideas off of or coach you or anything like that.
Yeah.
And you're
Which is
seeing
sad. Like, oh, I hate that. I hate it
it's
so
brutal,
much.
super brutal, and you're seeing that effect happening with the motorcycle culture. Like because it's not something accepted as a career path, and it's unfortunate, and that's why like I'm investing and working on this project I'm going to be executing on, especially with the popularity of the motorcycle videos. I have found ways to incorporate my personal videos and try and drag some of that attention into the rest of my vlog. And it's just the wheeling thing is cool, but it's not a career path.
Yeah.
It's not a skill set that you can put on paper and go to companies and be like, look, I'm a really good wheelier, that kind of stuff. Like, can let's work together and see how we can create a partnership. And it's not there yet.
Mm.
But like we have a motocross track on the island, but again, that's for one type of riding. But the riding that these guys do, like they would be really good at doing enduro, like difficult trail riding and stuff like that. And that's what I want to try and expose and create a zone that we can do something like that with. And
Mm.
that is
Awesome.
a skill set that if we can show and develop, that these guys can say like, look, I can ride through the craziest terrain and make it look easy. How can we develop a partnership, and how can I help push your brand and sell your product? So that's just that.
Yeah.
So that's my
Yeah.
goal for next year, to just try and shift the mindset a little bit and try get some of these guys off the roads and into the hills, and see if that's something that can create a more positive outlook on. Because the problem's not going away. Like you could destroy every single bike, they're gonna find ways to get bikes in. Like you're not gonna just say no
Exactly.
more motorcycles. So that crushing bikes and
Exactly.
stuff is a very toxic way of trying to solve a solution. Like it's wrong, so
Yeah.
stop it. And it's like,
Exactly.
why should I stop living? Like I've dedicated a great portion of my life. I've assumed risk to acquire these skills, and like this is where I have found a place to define who I am.
Mm.
and now you're trying to tell me like, no, that's not good. Like we are
Yeah.
people, like we're resilient, and once you find love, like love is blind, and if you love something,
Mhm.
like ain't nobody gonna tell you whether it's good or bad. Like we're gonna die anyway,
Yeah,
so I might as well
exactly.
enjoy my time before I die.
Yeah, exactly.
Where do you see this going? Like what is your
Like the
goals?
podcast?
Yeah, like what is your, like is it predominant to like how you say, like touch base with home kind of thing, or
So the thing is like the way that my brain works is I love to learn. I think that's low key why I did well in school was not because I actually enjoyed my school. LU's trash, but I love to learn. Like I am super curious. I am so fascinated by the universe. I'm fascinated by the mind. I'm fascinated by technology, which is why I became an engineer because like nobody on St. Martin could tell me how anything worked, and I wanted to know. Like I really wanted to understand it because I was like, well, we're using computers. Like how does it work? Like,
yeah.
how does this thing, like, do stuff that I tell it to do? Why does it, do what I tell it to do? And nobody could answer me.
Mhm.
And so I was like, well, I guess we'll figure it out. For the podcast, it was more of like I wanted to have a place where I could share that and share all the stuff that I think about and also like have awesome conversations with people that inspire me, like you, and like to highlight your story, highlight what you do because I think like the world doesn't get to see the awesomeness of St. Martin. Like, I feel like we on the island, we see it. To me, St. Martin is like the best place on earth. I think St. Martiners are the best people on earth. And there's something so unique about the people there that no matter where I go in the world, like, my heart always wants to go back home. As much as
Mhm.
it's like I can't because I'm trying to build a foundation for myself so that I
Yeah.
can have, like, the freedom to really live my life and not be bound to a system that, like, requires you to work and slave away just to buy meaningless crap. For me, I really, want to highlight our community and highlight our voice within the world because to me, like, we are incredible. And it's a shame that I feel like our country doesn't support our people, doesn't support, people that are doing amazing things, whether it be in mainstream careers or not mainstream careers. And for me, like, the podcast also gave me a space to just be myself and to like let out the struggles that I feel, whether it be mental, questions that I ask myself, understanding the importance of gratitude, understanding the importance of like self awareness. Because to me, it's like the ultimate purpose to life is to be your best self. And that is like always a journey because every day you progress, every day you learn something new about yourself. And to me, everyone should have the opportunity in this life to live their best life because like why not? Like that's why we're here. I am not of the belief that people should be miserable. Like life is too short for that. And to me it's like the way that I look at it is I'm an expert in me, but I'm a student of life. And so it's like understanding my journey and then sharing as much as I can to help uplift and help other people grow. Cause I realize a lot of the time it's like people just don't know, like if you don't have people around you that are positive, if you don't have people around you that are telling you, yeah, if you're dealing with anxiety, if you're dealing with stress, go meditate for a little bit. And this is why you should meditate and how it's going to help you become a more disciplined person so that you can go on and move throughout the world and do awesome stuff. To me, that's like the whole point. Like, I want to empower people to feel like they have the power within them to change their life because we all do. And if I can go in that and also show people that are doing that, that are making a difference, that are taking the path that, not frequently walk, that are doing it and doing it well and are being super positive and are trying to help other people along the way, then I wanna be a part of that tribe. Like, that's the tribe I wanna be a part of, and so for me, the podcast is just a way of manifesting that in the world?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
really have, like, a goal because, like, podcasts aren't even really, like, big in the region, but I think a lot of it is because we just never knew. Like, I didn't really know about podcasts until I left St. Martin and knew, like, people even made these things,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
it was so easy to make. Like, I'm so frustrated sometimes when I think back to high school because 'cause I'm like, we could have all have started YouTube channels and podcasts
Oh man, that's the only
already.
regret I have in my life. Not
Same. Like
like Like not vlogging when I was in high school, like when I first started skateboarding,
Right?
like our lives, like
Is amazing.
yeah, like we could have
It
been the
sells
Logan
itself.
Pauls, we could have been the Logan Pauls,
Exactly, bro.
100%.
Exact. I feel that. I feel that because I'm like, I think of just even how my high school class, like all of my classmates, and I'm like, we were literally perfect, like for this type of
Yep,
industry, and nobody told us about this. Like, no, like we were already making film star. Like for class, we would make videos for class. So it's not like we weren't already doing this.
yeah,
Nobody had told us, hey, if you put this on YouTube, you could like it may not go anywhere, but at least let's upload it to YouTube and see what
yeah.
happens.
Because
Nobody said that.
nothing. So like right now, I just refuse to make that mistake again. So that's why I push hard also, like I let that regret fuel my fire to not make that mistake again. Because I know like even now, it's already proven that, just me being me and doing what I do is stuff that people want to see, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep pushing.
Yeah. And like for me, I don't know where my life is gonna go. My ultimate goal is financial freedom, and I would love to build like the dopest technology to help really because for me, I feel like technology is awesome, but the reason I'm in the tech field or tech industry is really because I want to build tech that changes the world, not just keeps it the same. Like, I wanna be on the forefront, AI, new ways of, like, wellness and health, therapies, stuff like that, and it's like that I feel like I just let my curiosity drive me because it's never led me down the wrong path. Like,
True.
I work at Microsoft, like, that is insane. Like, I could not in my life had ever thought that I would ever be here, and my curiosity led me there, and it's like now I get to be in rooms with people that as much as I may not want their life, they have knowledge that I can learn from. And so
Hmm.
it's like taking that wisdom and applying it to my vision, like you said. Like I also think of myself as a visionary, so I feel you there.
Now, I definitely think like we like how I say like I'm surprised like we definitely gonna be friends after this because like we're
I
very
feel
like minded. Because like even like for
yeah,
me like I like my curiosity like I have like a junior boards and stuff like in my dresses behind me, like I do like dabble in programming and making stuff because like especially like as a yacht engineer you got to be very diverse because when you're out on the
exactly.
ocean
I can imagine.
you don't know how to fix things, but you need to understand the language so when you communicate with the people that do you can actually be effective.
Exactly. Exactly.
So like I
Yeah. A lot of it is just the terminology.
mhm.
Like,
And then just applying it to whatever you gotta do.
mm-hmm.
It's like it
Exactly.
seems like rocket
Exactly.
science until you get in and you're like, oh, these guys are really not that smart,
Bro,
but
tell me
they,
about it. Tell me about
they're
it.
confident enough to try and say it.
Exactly, exactly. A lot of it is like my goal also with the podcast is to make engineering seem less scary. Because I think from the outside looking in, it seems like, oh, all of this fancy ones and zeros to do all of this crazy stuff. But like really when you get in that world, you realize like it's not like yes, there's the complicated physics and all of that. But I feel like if
A lot
people
of the
were
hard work is
more
done.
yeah, exactly. Not even that. A lot of it is just leveraging what already exists, like you said. And it's
Exactly.
just like the way I think because engineers are bad at communicating, they've made it so that the masses don't understand technology.
Mhm.
And as a result, like people don't feel like it's easy for them to understand. They just want to use their computer. They don't really care about how it works. But I
Yeah.
think like if you understand how it works, then you feel more empowered to hold engineers accountable because sometimes they'll do stuff and they don't have a good reason. Like they might have a reason, but as people using technology, I think it's important that you understand how it works so that you are empowered to protect your rights as humans. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, like they can exploit that. If you don't understand how, all of these companies make use of your data, then they can just continue exploiting you, because you don't know and you're not going to question it. Like you get your
Yeah.
new iPhone or your new computer and you don't really think too much about it. But I hope to help educate people on it because one, I think technology is awesome, and if people better understood it, then we could have even more interesting conversations around it.
Mhm.
And yeah, I hope to enlighten our people because I would love to improve our technical infrastructure on the island because it is also trash, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's so hard for people to get into that digital space, but it's in the
Yeah.
plans. It's a long life I hope to have, and it's one of the things I hope to be a part of. And I agree. I definitely think we'll be friends for sure.
Yeah, but that's
Uh,
good though to have
and yeah,
different levels of
you need to
goals.
meet Will. I think you would like him a lot too. He's super into the snowboarding and all that crazy
Oh,
shiz.
epic.
Like
Yeah, no, I'm like right now, like I am curating the most epic life one can live.
exactly, right?
Like
Exactly,
like
and that's
what
what makes it exciting.
yeah, and like what I have in store for myself and just manifesting, like I've done it
Mm-hmm.
unintentionally and now I'm really getting really good at it. So like
Right?
as long as I don't die, like this shit is gonna be
Well, we're
dope.
here. Yeah, exactly, exactly. But I do want to end with like your a tidbit of your inspiration. So, can you share some inspiration for the Chattabox audience today?
um so I think our inspirational words of today is I'll take a little off for you and then I'll add some to it is just
Sure.
be willing to be curious. Like if stuff is intriguing, like just try and educate yourself on it. And then if you feel like you're really drawn to it, just be willing to fail. Like just allow yourself to just entertain it. Don't shoot yourself down. Don't tell yourself, oh, you're not good enough. Like I'm really like I have a bad habit of saying like I'm not a smart person. I just end up in smart rooms. Like I always end around people with like big degrees and stuff like that, but I'm still able to communicate and stuff like that. So like I don't allow where I feel like I'm weak to overshadow where I'm strong. And you just gotta
Mm.
take time to learn yourself and figure out where your strengths and weaknesses are and how you can transition that into a career. Because a lot of us just get forced into just, okay, school's done, you gotta go study, you gotta do something with your life, and
Mhm.
just end up making poor decisions, which in long term are good decisions because knowing where you don't want to be is as important as knowing where you do want to be.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Chatterbox. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to show your support by subscribing to this podcast and leaving us a review. Follow us on Instagram at the.chatterbox for teasers and updates.